there, and welcome to the Surviving Trauma Stories of Hope podcast. I am delighted to welcome the inspiring and witty Kristin Sparks to the podcast this week. Kristin is the founder and CEO of WRAR Inc., a communications and connections company that empowers women through corporate and personal growth guidance and specialized retreats. She is a trainer in the Jack Canfield Methodology, and she is also a certified trauma and shame recovery specialist. Her work focuses on helping women reconnect with joy and purpose. She is a best-selling author and the host of the Roar with Sparks podcast, where she has conversations with international guests about entrepreneurship, social justice issues, and how we can grow to be better people in life, love, community, and business. In this podcast conversation, we talk about overcoming our challenging experiences, yoga, practical steps to healing, and finding joy and purpose in our lives. It was terrific to have Kristin join me, and I loved our conversation and our giggles. Thank you to my listeners for joining me on this journey. Comment on the posts on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn and let me know what you think of this episode. Also head over to Amazon and takelot.com and get your copy of my book, Ray of Light, and please leave me a rating and review. It means the world to me. Also, please check out my website and download your free journal prompt and relaxing meditation on the resources page that I have curated for you. As always, stay tuned and keep listening. Hi, Kristin. Welcome to the Surviving Trauma Stories of Hope podcast. How are you doing? It's such a pleasure having you.
I am so good. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I am so happy that we got to connect because the work that you do in this world is something that we need. We've just come through such an incredibly stressful time. COVID-19 has been, a global traumatic experience for all of us, and it's left so many people in its wake feeling down. And so we really need all the light workers in the world that we can get.
We do. Light workers unite. We really need to come together and support each other, because coming through not only your personal traumas, coming through these global traumas that we have not experienced. We've experienced small pocket traumas before COVID-19 in our generation, not necessarily in the world's view, but in our generation, has been an overwhelming dark blanket that we have just been covered in, and trying to come out of that. I don't know if you as a kid ever played tents, and tents would collapse. Well, you'd like use your blankets on your couch, and then you'd use the couch pillows. And so you had these blankets everywhere and they would collapse on you, and trying to come out of that and find your way out to get to, the living room so that you could rebuild the fort. That's kind of what this whole time has been like, and what we're like now, trying to come out of it. For us here in our pocket of the world, Sarasota, Florida, we live in this really interesting community. And while it started as a fishing community, it then became, at one point or another, a very wealthy community. And so we've had the best of grocery stores, we've had the best of restaurants, and all of these little pocket pieces in Sarasota. I've not had the pleasure of all of that for very long. I didn't move here until 2018. However, it's a beautiful area to have spent this horrible time in. But even here, we have gone through loss, we've gone through lack, we've gone through limitation that we've never experienced in this area before. And it is just this little tiny piece of the world. And so trying to understand that we really are blessed here, that we really have had a whole lot more than anybody else in a lot of places, is difficult, because we look at it as, well, we have so much. How could we not have this? How could we not have that? And so
It sounds like your community has so much gratitude.
We do. We really, really do. It has taught us the appreciation of the little things, the appreciation of the whole, the appreciation of community. That's what it's taught. And so a blessing on one side in the midst of trying to dig our way out of this dark blanket so that we can find our way back to the light. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so very, very grateful that you received another blessing with the Hurricane Ian that recently came through Florida. And again, you only sort of had maybe the tail end of the storm, but for all intents and purposes, you were missed.
We were,
So another blessing, huh?
I mean, our airport at the north end of Sarasota was hit. Excuse me. Lost part of its roof. I apologize. When I had esophageal cancer, I get this in the back of the throat now. So, yeah, it's part.
Don't tell me about the things that cancer can do to you, because it's not very pleasant.
Not, is it? We all get these leftover pieces, and that's what I got left over with. So, and I'm grateful for that, because I honestly, oh goodness, there's so many blessings. But let me go back to Sarasota. We get the north end of the storm, rather than the eye, which is where we were supposed to be originally. And storms, I learned this with Hurricane Andrew that I had the pleasure of going through 30 years ago.
Wow.
That gave me a love of Florida, gave me a love of the people of Florida. We may not all agree down here, but man, when there is a tragedy, we come together like no other country that I know of comes together. We're just an amazing group of people. And I'm seeing that again south of us in Fort Myers that got so much damage, and friends in Pine Island and friends in Cabbage Key, and, all of these places that just got decimated. And Sarasota has, like, they say it's it's a blessing from the Native Americans. However, we can't really prove that. There's no documentation to that. But, well, I'll go with it. I'm okay with that. But we're in this pocket. We're in this bubble. And how grateful I am. Even though we come out of it, we're still shell-shocked. We are still, while it was not big T trauma, it was trauma. And it was, the trauma of getting ready for the hurricane, expecting the hurricane. Watching the hurricane, not getting the total effects of the hurricane, but knowing what those effects could have been. And so your body goes through everything it would have gone through if it was going through the trauma. It's just not I was in the eye of the storm trauma.
That's terrifying in itself.
It is. It truly is. And all of these emotions come up, and you know how trauma is. It brings up all those stories that we've been telling ourselves all of these years. And, whether it's family trauma, friend trauma, all of this garbage comes up with that. And we start spewing at each other. And then you have to deal with the aftermath of that. And it is just one thing after the other. And with where you and I are in our worlds and our lives, it is our responsibility to take a step back and be able to say, I hold space for you in this trauma, in this moment.
Absolutely.
So that we can move forward, so that we can release it, thank it for giving us the protection that it brought to us during the storm. Whatever that storm may be.
Yes, in life, there are so
and
many.
Allow it, right? It doesn't matter if it's a hurricane or, an argument with your spouse, your partner, your person.
That's right. But I mean, you've touched on cancer earlier, but you've also gone through some of your own trauma in life. And I believe you had a fall which left you handicapped. Tell us about the incident that took place.
Sure. I was a very active person, and I was at home building an outdoor kitchen. I love woodworking. I love making things. I had more tools than most men that I knew. I had a 3-car garage that barely fit a car because of all the tools that I had.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty
so
awesome.
lovely.
There were some of those tools, let me tell you, were kind of scary, but I learned how to use them, and I loved me. It just, I love that creative part of me, which is a pretty amazing outlet. So I was at home, I was building an outdoor kitchen, and my mother-in-law had been staying with us after having knee surgery. And my wife came out and said, "Hey, Mom wants to go up to the store and get a flower pot." Okay, she needs to get out of the house. So I get that. And she's like, "Do you want to go?" "Sure, why not? I'll go with you." So did your mom ever tell you to always change your underwear before you go shopping or you go somewhere? My mother used to tell me that all the time. Always make sure you have clean underwear on if you leave the house.
Right.
I did not do that. I wished this day that I had.
Oh, no.
So we go shopping for a flower pot. And we go to store number 1, we go to store number 2, we go to store number 3. And I think truly it was just she needed some time out of the house. You know how after surgery, when you're stuck in the house, and she'd been stuck in the house for, oh gosh, I think we were going on week 3 at least.
Cabin fever was setting in.
Oh, big time. So we get to the store, we go, and we're in there, I want to say at least an hour. She's got to not only look at every flower pot that they have, she then has to sit down because the woman was I think she was 90 at that point.
Oh, wow. That's such a wonderful age.
Yeah.
To be walking around looking at flower pots. How amazing.
Yeah, she was amazing. So she needs to sit down. So do I. I'm tired. She's tired. So we sit at one of the garden tables and talk for, I think, probably another half an hour. Finally, we find a pot that she wants. We take it up. We get it paid for. We get her outside. Now, mind you, she's been in a wheelchair, but she still needed to sit. She was tired, and I get that too. So I had a pickup truck that I had parked close to the door, get her into the truck, and for some reason I'm behind the door, and instead of going around the back end of the pickup to get into the driver's seat, I go around the front. Well, there's mirrors on the front of your car, and I needed to go around the truck mirror and keep myself from hitting the mirror of the car next to me. So when I did, I kind of twisted my body, but at the same time, my foot hit a spot in the parking lot where it went one way and my body went another. And
oh no,
I ruptured my pelvis. I stretched out my SI joints to the point that they could not return. I tore my pudendal nerve, which controls all of your bodily functions. It causes a tremendous amount of pain, and everything went numb. So I didn't realize how bad the damage was. I thought, okay.
I would have said you would have probably fallen down in excruciating pain.
I fell. I was on my knees by the time I got down because I stopped myself. But when all of it goes numb, so you're not feeling anything basically from my waist down, I really couldn't feel it. So I wasn't really aware that there was a problem. I knew I couldn't walk because I now have a foot that's kind of like not hanging there. And when they go to put me in a wheelchair, I'm having a really hard time getting in the wheelchair. So I go to the hospital, they do an MRI, they do all of these tests for my ankle, but we're not doing the hips and the SI joints. Nobody's looking at that because I'm not telling them that there's a problem because I don't feel anything yet. So they put me on little pain meds for my ankle and they send me home on crutches. I kind of sort of get myself in the house with the help of my wife, who's got me. She's got her 90-year-old mother. It was a mess. Let me tell you. I went to the hospital in the ambulance. She took her mother back home. Then she comes to the hospital. We spend the rest of the day there. Get home.
Wow.
I'm on pain meds. I'm still not feeling anything until I wake up in the middle of the night in the most excruciating pain I have ever felt in my life.
Oh, my word.
And in the weirdest of places. I don't know how much of a family show this is, so I won't tell you exactly what that feeling was. But let me just tell you that as a female, it was something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So I called the doctor. They didn't know what to do. The hospital, it's not seeing anything. And I finally called my urologist, who immediately knew what was going on. So between him, my doctor, who had been my doctor forever, who was an amazing woman, we were able to get me to the right people to figure out what was happening. It just took some time. And in the meantime, I was stuck in a wheelchair because every time I walked, my hips wouldn't stay in place because my SI joints were, instead of being like this, they were like this, which is like a 90-year-old woman's SI joints. You can see that as an age-related issue, but you don't normally see it in a person that was my age at 47 at the time. I couldn't walk, couldn't keep my hips in place, could not stay off of pain meds. But then the pain meds that I was on, I had a reaction to. And one of the side effects of this pain med was suicidal tendencies. I started planning out exactly how I could end it.
Wow.
I figured out that this particular drug that I was on would only put me in a vegetative state. I was not good. I did. Wow. I researched it down to exactly what cocktail I needed to make sure that I was not coming back. And I was ready to go.
You researched this?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
So this was a side effect, but then you wanted to end your own suffering
and out
because you were bedridden. You were in a wheelchair. You were in excruciating pain, and so you were kind of looking for just that ending of the suffering. What did you do, Kristin?
Had it all ready to go, knew what I was going to do, and my wife walked in from work early. She wasn't supposed to be there. And I just said, I'm done. I'm ending it. And that, of course, that didn't happen. I'm still here. The universe, I believe, totally knocked me down for a purpose because they put people in my path to make sure that I got to where I needed to be today. Those little tiny things that pop up, those little tiny, as I call, golden nuggets that pop up, my treasures along the way, we need to pay attention to.
You also mentioned that you were diagnosed with cancer. I mean, was this something that really sort of happened after you healed from your first traumatic experience?
Yes.
Because, I mean, going from a very able, very active human being to being bedridden and in a wheelchair is devastating and soul crushing, and can really drive you to like these suicidal tendencies like you've explained.
Absolutely.
But then to come out of that, and like you've described, seeing having met people on your way that helps you in a positive way, to then be faced with cancer. I mean, what was your experience of that like? Did you think, oh man, not again? And did you handle that traumatic experience differently than the first one?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Going from that fall, I had reactions to the medication that they put me on to begin with, which was a side effect. And then they put me on opioids. Opioids, I got an allergic reaction to and literally died 3 times. My heart, I would go into anaphylactic shock. My throat would close up completely. My heart would stop. Total code blue. And from that experience, I got this real sense of life. I got this real sense of the beauty of living life. And then after working with a yogi, working with physical therapy, I got my body back about 7 years later, to the point that I was using a walker instead of using the wheelchair. I had had a lot of surgeries, a lot of procedures, whatnot. And I got myself to the point that I was using a walker. Then I got to a cane. Go ahead.
And can I ask you, so you're saying that you worked with a yogi, and I mean, so did you do the physical training, the stretching, and the physical work, as well as the spiritual work, if you're working with a yogi? Because I ask this because the mind and the body, it's connected, and the state of the mind will help and enable the body, even if the body is in a place of disconnection with the mind.
Absolutely.
And so how did that work, as a healing method for you?
For me, getting to know my body through this whole process of the injury and the fixing of the injury and the way through the pain, the way through the physicality of it, became a spiritual growth. Because of my reaction to medication, I had to learn to use other things to get through the pain. I used meditation. I used essential oils. I used, a multitude of different modalities, and I tried a multitude of different modalities. Some worked for me, some didn't. Acupuncture did not work for me at all. But yoga did. Yoga and even getting deeper with the spiritualism of yoga, working with crystal sound bowls and Buddha bowls and all of that sound modality and vibrational healing. Absolutely. All of those modalities together have put me into a place now that I am able to share that spiritual side. Working with the yogi, I've worked with a lot of physical therapists during this, and she probably had a better understanding of the body because she understood the spiritual side of it, because she understood the mind side of it. So we were able to get my body to a point that I was using more than often than not a cane. Now, if I had to go long walks, I was using the walker just to make sure that, I had something to sit on if I got tired, because tired I would get easily. Yes. So my body now, I am able to do all kinds of things. I can dance. I call myself a pole dancer because I use my safety poles, but I dance.
This is such an interesting the way that you use it to heal from your trauma. Because I've certainly I've heard of people who have used alternative modalities like even ayahuasca and meditation in order to process trauma. But what I love about the work that you and your yogi did was you took a holistic approach to it. And you said, I may have this problem only in my physical body, but I also need to look at my spirit, because my spirit is what's going to drive me actually getting better. And my mind, we also have to look at, because the mind is just as important in connecting to healing. And so there was this holistic approach looking at all aspects of it. And I wish that more people will take that approach, rather than to just say, okay, I'm only going to take medication, or, I'll only do talk therapy, which is only sort of one aspect of it, And so I love that you had this amazing mentor or guide that could help you with that.
Yes, she is incredible. And, it is a mind, body, soul, and heart approach for me. I have to incorporate all of that to make it work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say mind, body, heart, I'm talking about, the spiritual side of it. I'm talking about the gratitude side of it. I'm talking about the forgiveness side of it. And I'm talking about the physical side of it. So there are 4 pieces for me holistically.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked about the cancer, and then how I was able to utilize what I'd learned to be able to get through the cancer. I got cancer, or was diagnosed with cancer, in September of 2020. So we had come through all of this traumatic pandemic worldwide, starting to open back up, and then it closed down again.
Mm-hmm.
So there were no support systems put into place with the cancer center for the cancer patients. We had to go into this on our own, by ourselves, going through the chemo treatment, going through all the additional treatments that the radiation, all of that. My wife wasn't even allowed in.
It was a very lonely experience for so many who had to receive the cancer treatments during that time.
It really was. And kudos to the nursing staff who was there.
Yes.
I would not have made it through without them. They were amazing. I made some incredible friends, that are still my friends today, that I hold in such high regard.
That's wonderful.
That's those little nuggets that show up along the way. The nurse that realizes that you are completely dehydrated and passing out in front of her and gets you help. The nurse that, just reaches out and says, wow, you're kind of cool. I'd like to talk to you, or the patient next to you that you reach over and hold their hand, because it's a scary, lonely time, and we need to support each other. And that's where the heart comes in. That's where the heart comes in. We're not in this alone. We are a community of humans. And that was where I was able to utilize what I had learned through working through the accident recovery. I'm not in this by myself. It takes a village of people.
That's true.
It takes a community.
And I find that healing in community, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. Keep going.
Yeah. And I mean, I find that, healing in community is something that when you are in that place of going through that loneliness of navigating the marshlands of disease and treatments, that's where you find the compassion that you want. That's where you find understanding that you want. And so I, as a cancer survivor myself, I advocate for cancer support groups, because even the cancer support groups, it helps so many people
Yes.
to come to terms with what they are experiencing, the diagnosis. And also, we celebrate those who are in remission,
Yes.
those who come through it, those who said, I've done it, I beat this disease. And we mourn the ones who no longer there, that leave the empty seats.
Yeah. Yes.
And so there's a different perspective that we get when we heal in community. And I agree with you. It comes from the heart. It's the heart healing.
Absolutely.
We use that heart chakra so much.
It is, to me, the brain of our whole entire system, the heart. Have you heard of heart math?
No.
Oh.
Tell me about it.
Okay. So heart math, if you look up heartmath.com, it is this amazing group of scientists who have proven that the heart really is the brain of our whole system, and how the energy of the heart is radiated out from us 50 feet all the way around. Every connection that we make is because of the energy of the heart, and how we pull in their energy or push that energy away, and the same vice versa, how they pull ours or push ours away. So the heart will send signals to the brain. The brain is really kind of the transfer station, if you might. So the heart is pulling in information from outside of us, from the whole system of the body, and then telling the brain, okay, you need to breathe. Okay, you need to feel this. Okay, you need to do that. You need to turn on this. You need to turn off that. What we thought was happening in the brain is really happening in the heart system. And so, wow, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
So I found this a few years back, and I can show you how this works. If you'll close your eyes for a minute and just go with me, if you will, and put your hand on your heart. And I want you to think of the trauma that you went through in finding out that you had cancer. Just for a second. You can feel that kind of pull your heart in. Now, I want you to think of the gratitude that you have for beating that cancer, for living your life, for breathing today, and how expansive you become. You can open your eyes. Did you feel the difference?
Yeah. I feel full of joy.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
Yeah.
I feel joy. The moment you said, can you feel the gratitude of this life that you now have, that you could live? I felt that absolute joy, the bliss in that moment.
Yes.
Of, yes, I did it. And yes, I am living life.
Yeah.
Powerful. So powerful. Thank you for that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And you can stop and do that with anything. You don't need to do the first part of it, but do the gratitude part of it. Just stop for a minute, take a deep breath, and think of something that you're truly grateful for. And just breathe for a minute. And it is this expansive, joyous process. Yes.
Fantastic.
Life is worth living. And that's why I am here. That is why I do what I do, because life is absolutely 100% worth living, not just existing.
Exactly, not just existing. Like, we cannot be existing anymore in this day and age.
No.
And I think this is my view. I think it comes down to taking responsibility for your life.
100%.
I mean, if you're existing, you're going through the motions. You're letting life push you to where life wants to. You're like like a wave in the ocean. Waves go where the wind blows them. And so it really is about being intentional and really taking that responsibility for your life and saying, this is what I choose and this is what I don't choose. And I'm taking the action to make this happen. Or I'm taking the action to leave this behind. A difficult and a very a difficult process, but a very transformative process, I find.
Yes. I agree.
So tell me, how did you, you've sketched this out for us and given us the backstory, and coming face to face with your mortality and being diagnosed with cancer, and then beating cancer and coming through that, taking a different perspective than you did with when you had your initial accident, right?
Yes.
And really transforming that into something amazing. And I want to talk about two things. And we can start off with your podcast. Because,
Sure.
What inspired you to start that podcast?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, the cancer. It was, for me, again, a message from the universe, loud and clear, big message from the universe telling me I wasn't using my voice. Well, what better way to use my voice than a podcast? And on top of that, I love to talk.
No problems with that throat chakra over there?
Not anymore. Nope. But I wasn't using my voice to really help, to be of service. And, being able to get my voice out to the masses quickly and easily podcasting is the best way to do it. So that's what brought me to podcasting.
Fantastic. Well, we are so grateful. What is your show called for the listeners so that they can subscribe?
Oh, I would love that. It is Roar with Sparks. How loud is your roar? And roar is spelled WRAR. And you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on my website, which is roarinc.com, WRARINC.com.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up your company, WRAR Inc., because that's the next thing that I want to talk about. I mean, your company has been featured in Forbes. Congratulations, lady. That is fantastic. So tell us about your business. What do you do at WRAR Inc.?
Well, I am a writer. I am a speaker, obviously, in podcasting. And I am hosting this incredible retreat that came to me called I Do Me. And it is all about really taking the doubt out of me, embodying responsibility, and learning how to move my life, your life forward. And, we all have our stories that we tell ourselves that aren't necessarily the stories that we want to be telling ourselves. That we're not good enough, that we're invisible, that we're worthless, that we're unlovable, that we're not appreciated, that we're not this or that. And I Do Me is all about learning who we truly are on the inside and bringing that out in a truly embodiment of who we are on the outside.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed on your website that you've got a retreat coming up in November.
December.
In December.
It's actually December 2nd. Yeah. December 2nd through the 9th. And that is at the Ritz-Carlton here in Sarasota. We have, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but we have a special going on until the end of October that you can come as a double for $7,500 a piece. So it is a buy one, get one, basically.
That's fantastic.
You can enjoy all of the amazing people who are involved in this. Marcy Scheimoff is coming as one of our keynote speakers. She is, I don't know if you know who she is, but she is the happiness for no reason. She is the face of the Women's Chicken Soup for the Soul series that was out.
Yes.
She's incredible. We have 9 guides who will take you through from learning the goddess code and values of where you are today, all the way through where you want to be by Saturday or Sunday. Is it Friday? So it's a week long. I don't know my days. It is a week long. We start Friday. Yeah, we start Friday and end Friday. So we are going to go through this whole embodiment of removing doubt of our being to being the goddess that we were called to earth to be.
Wow. And I mean, that doubt that you talk about is something that really goes hand in hand with that other word, shame.
Yes, it
And
does.
it tends to just close us off to the world.
Shame will absolutely leave us in the closet, in the dark, by ourselves, feeling like we are the only ones that have ever been through something or ever done something or ever forgot something or ever made a mistake or, hurt someone that we didn't intend to hurt. And shame is like our nasty cousin that we don't need to carry with us. It becomes that monkey on our back. And if we bring shame into the light and we share that we did or did not do, it can't live. It cannot live if we share it. Brene Brown has done an abundance of research on shame and how shame affects people. And it truly, truly, truly cannot live in the light. I have lived with the shame of not being the mother that I wanted to be to my children for years. And it controlled everything and became the guilt. And so you have this bounce back and forth of guilt, shame, guilt, shame, guilt, shame. And then the easiest thing to do with that is blame everybody else. Well, if I hadn't had the husband I had, well, if I hadn't been this, if I hadn't done that, and bottom line is I now have to take responsibility 100%. I chose to not be the mother to my children. I chose that. I chose that for a multitude of reasons that decision I made at the time was the best decision that I could make for my life and for theirs. And now I can heal generational shame and guilt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think, it comes down to that power of choice, because you articulating it so clearly that you made a choice and it's one that you had to make and it's one that you're taking the responsibility for. I think that's a clear message that we have to send to all the listeners. It comes down again to taking the responsibility for our own lives, having at all times the power of the choices that we make, right? We don't necessarily, like you said right in the beginning when you spoke about the universe and what the universe brings for us, we don't have the control in this world.
Right.
The universe does. But we do have the power of the choice.
I say in my company that voice is our power and voice is the choice. That is perfect.
Beautiful. I love it. I also, when I was browsing your website, I also saw that you've got blame, shame, no more blame, shame, or guilt only, love, joy, and grace. And I loved that.
Yes. Love.
Because we have to trade the one for the other.
We do. We do. You have to, you fill your coffers and your coffers come with choices. You can fill it with all this blame, shame, and guilt and live in the mediocrity of life, just surviving, or you can choose love, joy, and grace. And love for me is all about using our values, our visions, and our victories to elevate our voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love is all. It is everything. It is how we have compassion, how we have empathy, how we have connection, how we have all in life. And joy is the epitome of what living gives us. It is what I achieve and reach for every day when I wake up in the morning. And I say, thank you. I'm here again. Oh my goodness, I have a whole new day to do stuff.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's what I love to play with. Joy.
Yeah.
And grace is the embodiment of faith and gratitude. Faith in life, faith in each other, faith in the next day being here. And gratitude for that, again, that ability to be here.
Mm-hmm. And I think for many people, when they're going through their challenges and their difficult experiences, it's so hard for them to have that faith. It's so hard for them to experience that joy. It's so hard for them to approach their life from this place of love.
Yes.
And so what are some of the practical tools that the listeners can apply in their own life to really make that change from the darkness of blame and shame and guilt and basic practices in order to change that into love and joy and grace?
Well, here's 3. Number 1, write a love letter to yourself.
I love that.
Just sit down and write a love letter to yourself. We've all watched Hallmark. We know what a love letter is. We know what it looks like. And just really, think about it as if you were writing the love letter to the person that you want to have in your life or the person that you have in your life. Kristin, you bring me such joy to have you in my life. You make me want to be a better person every day. I just love your looks. I love your touch. I love everything that you do. Thank you. That's number 1.
But you're also giving all that compassion to yourself.
That's number 1. Number 2, write down 5 wins that you had today. And wins can be, I got out of bed. I brushed my teeth.
And that's the reality for most people.
Right?
They struggle to get out of bed in the morning. They struggle to get up and do things.
Yes. Some of them struggle to get up and shower. They might get out of bed, but they can't find the energy to shower. Or they don't have the capacity to shower on their own. They need help because they're handicapped in one way or another. There's a multitude of different wins that we have that we ignore because it's not big. I didn't make $1 million today, therefore I failed. It is not a failure. You have wins every single day that if you just take a moment to really pay attention to and appreciate, it changes your perspective over time. So that's another one.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is do the mirror exercise. And if you don't know what that is, you're taking your love letter, you're reading it to yourself to the mirror, and you're adding your wins to it. So it goes something like this. Hi, Kristin. It is so marvelous to see you. And while I'm doing this, I'm looking myself in the eyes, in the mirror, just like I would a lover. You are amazing. Look at what you accomplished today. You did 2 podcasts, you had a meeting, and you finished the website.
Wow, that's a lot.
But it's only 5 things, It's 5 wins. And if you can get through 5 wins every day for 30 days, that's a lot of wins, 5 wins.
Yeah. I find that with mirror work, and I don't know how you feel, Kristin, but with mirror work, people find it so difficult to have that conversation with themselves one-on-one.
Yes. It is hard. It starts out difficult, But like with anything that we do, repetition makes a difference. It suddenly by the end of 30 days, you are no longer having a problem looking yourself in the eye. You may not make it the first day. You may not get through a whole love letter to yourself. You might only get through I love you, but you got through I love you, and that's a win.
Yeah.
And the next day it's I love you and you're really cool.
Yeah.
I don't have to say why you're cool. Okay, and here's my 5 wins for today. I brushed my teeth, I walked the dog, I got home, I went to work, I went to bed. Okay, that's my 5 wins. Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
And it may be, oh my God, I have this wrinkle. I didn't know I had that wrinkle. Oh, hi, by the way. Yeah, I love you. Okay.
And we
But if
all
we
do it. We all do it. We're like,
yes.
we trying to do the mirror work, but then we see our imperfections and we get distracted.
Yes.
And it's true. It's exactly the way that you describe.
Yep. But if you keep doing it day after day after day, in 30 days, you will have changed the habit of how you feel about you.
Mm-hmm.
You will have made huge progress in removing doubt and loving you and being who you truly are, and the gratitude, the joy, the love, the faith come with doing those exercises. They come with doing that work. They come with wanting to know that you are not in this alone because you have you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And you can be your biggest supporter. You can be your biggest ally. You can be your biggest champion.
Yes.
If you allow yourself to be that.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
You
This
can
is
be
such great guidance and wisdom that you are sharing with us. I want to ask you about I'm listening to all of these nuggets, and I know that you have a book that is out, Book of Joy. I know you have a second book pending. I'm not sure if it's out yet. I don't think so. But where can the
No.
listeners find your book of Joy? I'm intrigued by listening just to you speak on joy and what it means to you.
Absolutely. The Book of Joy is a combination of 30 authors that came together with Jan Fraser, and we put this book out, and she's put out some other ones as well in the series. The Book of Joy was my it was actually my second endeavor into authorship. And it is on Amazon, and it's just The Book of Joy with Jan Fraser. There are some other books out there that are called The Book of Joy, so be careful that you're picking up the right one. There is one that has my lovely picture on the front, which was really kind of fun. And then I have another one that's in the works that is called I Think I Found God, Holy Shit. And I have a third that is the I Do Me book.
That's exciting.
It is.
When can we expect those? When can we expect the last two?
Well, I Think I Found God, we're still working on. The I Do Me book is coming out next year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got some wisdom and nuggets to look forward to. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll be following along on your social media. What handle do you have on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook? Just Kristin Sparks?
Kristin Sparks and WRAR Inc. And then the WRAR with Sparks is also on there. And then we have a new podcast coming out next year, and it is called Sparks of Joy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. There's a retreat coming up. You can follow along on WRAR Inc. on Instagram, Facebook, and also LinkedIn. And you've got the 2 books to look forward to. And while you're at it, you might as well pick up the copy of Book of Joy. Kristin, it's been so wonderful catching up with you. I can't believe it's been an hour. It felt like no time has passed. It's been wonderful having you on the show. And thank you so much for having this conversation, sharing your story with us so gracefully, and for sharing your wisdom with us, and just for being here. You're an incredible human. Thank you for the work that you do at the WRAR Inc. company and also at your foundation. I really hope that you will join me on the podcast again soon with your update the moment your books are out.
Oh, thank you. I would love to. It has been an absolute honor and a joy to be here today, and to be with your listeners, and to be with you. Your energy is beautiful. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
You too. Bye.
That wraps up this podcast episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, please take a minute to give me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast directory so you don't miss an episode. Please consider following My Centered Life on Facebook and Instagram for daily inspiration. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You can catch me again in the next episode. Same time, same place. Sending you lots of love and light. Bye.